Hello, my name is Florencia Pita. This is the SCI-Arc Channel, and today we're joined by Carme Pinós. I like to talk about plasticity. And in Spanish, it's plasticidad, and in English, it's plasticity. I thought it was about lines, it's about curves. What is for you plasticity?
In a way, everything has his value in the sense of plasticity. You can understand everything like something plastic with his quality of plasticity. For me, architecture have also this value. I start architecture thinking in another thing. I think in the context, in the responsibility to develop a program, the experience of the space, and I say, and also a quality of plasticity. But I never start with the plasticity. It's something that is more, must be also. But I start always with a dialogue with the context, to transform the city with my action, to respond a program, and also this idea in the sense of architecture, more sculptural. No? Each project must be understood like something sculptural. For me, I start the architecture to understand our responsibility, because in a way, architecture is a service. It's a service, a social service. Also, architecture starts with a demand, and architecture is the answer of this demand. And this is, for me, the important, to understand which kind of demand is my program and my commission. And I try to respond with the sense of the ambience on how the people is going to live there and to feel there. No? To be at the top must have a quality of plasticity, to understand a sculptural like also this quality that make the architecture in the category of art. No? But the architecture starts with this social responsibility.
For me, in the work, what is very clear is that the brief, the city, the site, the client, all comes together. That's why I wanted to use the word plasticity, because maybe to some people you look at plasticity and it looks like this is sculpture or something that comes more from art, the sculpture that it's an object. But what I see in the work is that in your case, you could see it becoming everything, meaning that the public realm is the outside space that comes into the building. So it's not only about the thing itself or the building, but it's very much about the space. There's always this move from the realm of the public space into the building. All the buildings chamfer at the corners, like the Caixa Forum in Zaragoza, the towers in Mexico, Cube 1 and Cube 2, they somehow negotiate with the site. So I find it fantastic that the plasticity has to do not only with formal maneuvers, but it has to do with spatial, very clear flows.
Fluidity.
The fluidity that you have is not an object that landed in a site, it's always related to its context.
So I work always with this human scale, how the building is perceived from the distance, how you feel when you enter. I work always with the sensation. I walk through the line. I never work in abstract way. Also, I see when it's done, I look in abstract way. But when I decide how is the line, how is the rules to make, always I feel myself, the space and the sensation. And I work and I make my architecture never like a sculptor, always like a sensations. Also, one phrase that I used to say is the architect is more similar a film director more than a sculptor, because in this way we must have a script before to start, because the script talk about human sensation. This is the way to make architecture, to work with this sensation that must be with continuity. It's not an image, another image, no. Architecture is an experience that is continuous. And also architecture, we must work with memory. You know, when you pass from one space to another, it's not two spaces separately. Between one space to another is also is the architecture. It's an experience. Architecture have memory, and also how you perceive from the distance and how disappear the building, how you see again the buildings through the one street, through the other. All that is architecture. It's not objects, it's not a sculpture. It's experience, it's sensations.
I think this idea, what you're saying is that architecture is not necessarily just an image. It's the script, you know, like moving from the thing itself to, you know, the full description of it. I was reading an article by you were talking about one of the Mexico towers, that is the tower, and there's a way that people arrive to the tower from the city. That you, even though it's a small footprint on the site, but there's a network of how you arrive. So it connects, with small entry, let's say, but it connects to the much larger context of the city. So I think what you're calling experience, it's interesting to see the experience, it goes from the city into the building. How would you start your script?
Architecture must be generous and must offer something to the city. And also, which thing I can offer to the people? The connection with the exterior, no? Most of the people work in the interior space. I just start the tower saying I want to offer the contact with the exterior, everybody that work in my offices that is going to use. It was with the program, with the sensation, with always the spirit of generosity and responsibility.
This idea that the program brief given by a client or by a competition is not so fixed, but it has to have the same malleability and plasticity that you need in the forms themselves. So then it's like you see that everywhere in the work, and that, I think, that's what makes it unique. Thank you, Carme, for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.